Alright, now Mickey is going to be a little bit ahead of Mandatoby here. He's going to be heading on to grab the missile upgrade, which our runners will be using a lot at the start. Missiles do more damage than your regular beam shot, and so they're used to one-hit kill a lot of enemies. Now the downside is, of course, that missiles have limited ammo, so you want to be aware of that. Right, and both the runners are now at the last elevator. Now you may have noticed Mandatoby there actually fired his beam shot whenever he reached the top of his jump there. That's called a shoot cancel, and our runners will be doing that throughout the run to try and save a little bit of time because it allows you to land just a few frames faster than normal. So while it may only be a few frames, when you compound that over most of the jumps in the game, over the entire duration of the run, it adds up. Now Mickey's the first one to get the missile upgrade here. And now they have missiles. We're going to see them kill enemies a little bit more effectively than what they've had before. So now they're going to be one-hitting a lot of enemies here. And now they're both going to be heading their way to the first boss of the game. Before they get there, though, they'll have to put up with eye doors. Now, eye doors are an annoying enemy that occur before most of the boss fights in the game. They either have two different forms. Either their eye is open and you can damage them, or their eye is open and they shoot a beam. Now, eye doors can shoot between 0 to 4 beams in every phase, so our runners want to make sure they kill the eye doors as quickly as possible. Now, at the start, it takes 3 missiles to destroy an eye door. However, our runner is going to try and do a trick called double missile, which is where they hit an enemy with 2 missiles in the same frame to try and speed it up a little bit. And I believe Mickey did get a double there, so he'll be able to finish off the eye door in one less hit.
And only having 1 beam, that was pretty good RNG.
Yeah, Mandatoby, unfortunately unable to get the double, so he has to wait through all 3 phases, but he still got pretty good RNG there, so not a huge time loss. Now the first boss fight here is Arachnus, and Arachnus is fairly straightforward. You just want to unload as many missiles as possible into him. He sometimes does do a roll, which forces you to stop damaging him, but I don't think either runner got a roll, so that's good. Now Mandatoby is actually going to try and get a double missile here, and he does get it. So you'll actually see them use double missiles on these Core X's, as we like to call them, in order to save a bit of time too. Core X's are, once they get the missile, they become invulnerable for a little bit. So hitting them with 2 missiles in the same frame lets you kill most of them in literally half the time.
And with that, Mickey is now being told to head to Sector 1. And now, within Sector 1 and a few of the later sectors, missile management is very key, and there's a missile you can grab here that we call the main deck missile. That will, it does lose a little bit of time, but it does give you a little bit more missiles to manage in Sector 1, but Mickey chooses to skip it.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll see Mandatoby grab it or not. I guess we'll find out in a second here. Alright, Mandatoby does opt to grab it. So he's going to lose a bit of time over Mickey there, but if his Sector 1 does not go as well as it could, he may actually save a bit of time over not grabbing it.
And with that, we get our first look at the SAX, who decides to randomly blow open the door for no reason.
Which was open, which makes me even more confused. But nonetheless, it looks like our runners are going to be in Sector 1 with Mickey already in the nav room with Mandatoby not far behind. Now, as Phasa Knight said, Sector 1 missile management is really important, and you may see that main deck missile serve a very good role in this sector depending on how Mandatoby's trip goes. Now the key here is just to not take any damage, because if you take damage, you're no longer guaranteed missile drops from enemies. And that can definitely cause problems, especially for Mickey, who didn't grab the main deck missile. Now for the most part, Sector 1 has a few rooms that can be really annoying to get through without damage. So those rooms are definitely going to be the main ones that define how our runners get through here. Now that room right there was actually a critical example of what I was talking about with Mickey when he was falling down that shaft. The number of pirates that are on that wall is RNG, so if you get like a bad number of pirates, you can run into one and take damage. So that room is a pretty accurate description of what I was talking about, where sometimes you can just take damage that's outside of your control.
He was able to get a missile drop from the crab that we just saw Toby kill as well, and then one from the stabilizer, so he is pretty good on missiles right now.
Yeah, Mickey definitely has a good missile count, so that's definitely going to keep him from really getting harmed too much by that damage he took. He has more than enough to make it through this shaft.
Yes, he only really needs 3 for the eye door, but if he wants to go for doubles, he would like at least 4 to 5 for at least 1 or 2 chances for a double. But he'll have 11, so he's perfectly fine.
This goes perfectly, he'll even have enough to go without grabbing the red X.
I believe that was 5 beams for Mickey.
Yeah, unfortunately was unable to get the double, and we see Mandatoby here
struggling
to shoot that block. So they lost a bit of time there. Now I believe Mickey got 1 double, alright. See if Mandatoby can get the double on the outdoor here. Whiffs the first one, but does not whiff the second one. Nice. So Mandatoby lost a bit of time from having to struggle to shoot that block, but he gained some of it back by being able to get that double there and not have to put up with as much RNG as Mickey had to. It looks like he might have a double-double as well on the Core X, so nice time saves for Mandatoby here. Right, now both of our runners have the charge beam, and they'll be using it to help kill enemies a little bit quicker and do more damage to a few certain enemies. Now the charge beam does a total of 26 damage. There's a top, a bottom, and what we call a flare part of the charge beam, and doing all of them together does the 26 damage. So we're going to see our runners actually be able to save a bit of their missiles now because of the power of the charge beam. Now there are a few scenarios where they'll still be using missiles, like if there's an enemy that they need to kill quickly but they can't charge up a charge beam fast enough. Or if it's just an enemy where they need to do damage really quickly to it, we'll see them use missiles there, but for the most part we'll be seeing a lot less missile usage from now on. Now runners are off to Sector 2, and we'll be seeing how that's going to go. Now Sector 2 is a pretty dangerous sector because the most common enemy in the game does 45 damage. Now luckily, both runners have full health going into that sector, so they'll be able to tank quite a few hits if they have to. But hopefully that won't become a problem. Their main focus is to get the bombs upgrade and defeat the boss. Now bombs in this game are a bit more limited than the other games. They don't get to infinite bomb jump with them or anything like that. They just use them to get rid of obstacles in their way. So they'll still be using bombs a lot, but they won't get to use it to access new areas other than those that are just sealed away from bomb blocks.
Unfortunately, at first, we have to go find a security room that's not marked on the map. Well, thankfully, we as speedrunners know where these security rooms are, but still a slight annoyance in most sectors.
We'll actually see in a second here an example of where I mentioned that sometimes you don't have enough time to actually set up your charge beam. We'll see Mickey is going to kill his first enemy with a charge shot, but have to missile the second one. And that's the exact kind of scenario I was talking about, where you don't have enough time to charge up your charge beam, so you just have to unload missiles. But again, they won't be using their missiles nearly as often.
A little door transition high five there. Mandatoby takes a couple hits from that Zoro there.
And looks like Mickey is getting the bombs upgrade as we see Mandatoby enable the security rooms. Now, as I said before, bombs don't really give them a whole lot of movement utility, but they'll still be using them to destroy any obstacles or anything else in their way. Gets a bit of a bad pattern leaving that room, unfortunately for Mickey. He had to deal with that. The main problem in Sector 2 is that there are just a lot of bad patterns you can get with enemies you have to deal with. And look, it looks like he got both favorable patterns here. Didn't have to worry about any of the Zoros getting in his way.
Yes, unfortunately in Fusion there are a lot of RNG aspects that can affect how you move the rooms.
We see Mandatoby gets the same bad pattern. Ooh, but Mandatoby needs to be careful because he now has only 40 health, which is enough to get one hit by a Zoro. So if he's not careful here, one of these Zoros could end his day.
Played a little bit safe there. Was able to heal a little bit. She won't die in one hit now.
Yeah, looks like he got some good patterns there, so you don't have to worry about too much damage taking. Really, the only hazard for Mandatoby at this point is going to be this room right here, which is Pancake Room. Makes it over the first set of pancakes okay, so he should be safe at this point. Just needs to unload his charge on those, and he's in the clear. Alright, and now we see Mickey has entered the boss room.
Now, Zazabi, this boss, is a very interesting boss. If all goes to plan, you will kill Zazabi in 3.5 rounds approximately. But Zazabi can waste between 1 and 4 jumps each round. So with a good fight, it'll be between 3 and 12 jumps. And optimally, you want a lower number of jumps. But again, it's complete RNG. Oh, Mickey unfortunately tanks part of his beam there. He has to use another jump for go into the Core X form.
Does get the second double, so looks like he'll be finishing off this boss fight in 3 rounds there. We'll see how Mandatoby's fight goes here.
I'm not sure how many jumps either runner had, but I think Mandatoby had a lot more than Mickey seemed to have.
Makes a similar mistake as to Mickey there and did not put enough damage into that last phase. The last phase actually takes more damage than the prior phases, so you want to make sure that you deal enough there. I believe in Mandatoby's case, it looks like one of his missiles whiffed. But both runners have high jump now, and they'll be moving on to the next sector. Now, high jump makes your jump larger, and it also gives you access to Spring Ball. So now when our runners need to jump in a Morph Ball tunnel or something, they don't have to worry about using a bomb, because now they can just jump up there normally.
I noticed that both runners picked up the Zazabi E-Tank, the one right before the eye door, which is a very interesting choice, as most of the higher level runners, as both of these runners are, opt to skip that one. But after there have been quite a few upsets and deaths in this tournament, so they're probably just playing a little bit safe so none of them die.
Yeah, the Zazabi E-Tank's a nice E-Tank to grab early on because it helps you with survivability. And of course, because of how early it is, you get a lot of mileage out of it. It's also nice in that it's not really a huge time waster. It's probably I would say it's definitely after the main 3 E-Tanks that most people grab, the Zazabi E-Tank is probably the next most convenient one.
Both runners going up the right side of the Sector 2 main room, which, while half a second slower, is, in my opinion, a cooler looking strat.
Now both runners are in Sector, well, Mandatoby's a little bit behind, but both runners are going to be in Sector 4 here. Sector 4 is pretty straightforward. They're going to be going to fight the boss fight, but along the way they're going to have to go through a few hazards. Now these rooms we'll see them go through a few tough rooms, mainly for 2 reasons. One is that there's a lot of water in this sector, and not only is water slow, so you don't want to take a dive for very long, the water also does damage to you because it's electrified at the moment. So you have dangerous water to go through, and unfortunately, the enemies are not any less dangerous. A lot of these enemies shoot projectiles at you, and so it can be really annoying to actually deal with them properly. So we'll actually see our runners have to develop a few strats here to deal with some of these enemies. Looks like Mickey, unfortunately, fell down there a little bit. Did not take a dive, thankfully, but he did have to do a nasty wall jump there to get back up.
And with the upcoming boss, this is where the charge beam really comes into play. The upcoming boss, Ceres, has 50 health, and as the charge beam does 26 with all 3 parts connecting, the top, bottom, and flare, we can easily kill Ceres in 2 hits. This is the optimal strat, but unfortunately, Ceres has random patterns, can bob and weave throughout platforms at random times and random heights. So they would try to get in a good positioning to hit Ceres, but it's easily possible to miss part of the shot and get more than 2 rounds. Here's Zero Beam for Mickey. Oh, Mickey unfortunately missing most of the shot besides the flare. believe that second shot connected, so hopefully he can get a 3 round. And he was.
3 round, nice.
Gets the initial double. I
So
believe that was a double.
He will be finishing out the fight. Ooh. Vulnerability lasted a bit longer than he thought there, but he still gets a sweet spot and finishes off the fight. So, not the perfect first phase of Sarah's fight, but does great on the Core X.
And a sweet spot, I guess, is where the X was positioned to be able to be grabbed instantly instead of waving around a little bit. And it does save a good amount of time if you're able to nail that sweet spot. So Mandatoby had a good Sarah's fight as well. Also had a really good core fight.
So the core fights were pretty perfect for both our runners. I believe Mandatoby's fight was a bit better overall, but he did mess up the second shot initially and had to wait for another pattern. But he was able to do slightly better at the core fight, and then he didn't have to whiff a missile. So Mandatoby definitely gained a bit of time over Mickey there.
As we're going to see the runners go for, they're going to go for a trick called low height. Well, they did one earlier, which was a little bit easier, as they could just press A multiple times. With this one, Mickey is unable to get it. You need to... Oh, he also was a little too close and did not get the speed booster going. But that one there, you need to unmorph about a pixel above the ground and then shine spark to the right to go underneath that ledge to see if Mandatoby is able to nail that as well.
Looks like Mandatoby was unable to get the low height as well, so gonna have to go the manual way here. Right, now looks like both runners are going to be heading off their way to Sector 3 here. Now, Sector 3 is another sector where you actually want to manage your missiles very properly because they need a minimum of 3 missiles leaving the sector. Now, they will be getting the super missile upgrade and using it on a boss fight right away. The unfortunate thing is that this boss fight does not drop a Core X, so they won't get a missile refill after they defeat the boss. And this missile takes a good amount of missiles to kill. So both runners are going to have to make sure they do not miss any missiles in this boss fight and take as little damage as possible, so if they need to rely on missile drops, they can. Unfortunately, this boss does have some pretty precise positioning for shooting missiles at it, so we're going to see how they go about that. And this is especially important for Mickey because he didn't actually grab the main deck missile earlier. So at the moment, Mandatoby has a few more missiles to spend here. Now right now Mandatoby only has 1 more missile than Mickey, but sometimes that missile is all the difference they need. Alright, Mickey has cleared the security doors, so he's going to go in and get the Bob missile soon. But before he does that, he's going to try and go for a trick here called Shine Break. If he does this properly, he will break this block with Speed Booster just like that. And now he's going to use it to spark up the shaft quickly. Now the idea of Shine Break is that you basically store your Speed Boost right as you go over a Speed Booster block. and that allows you to store it without actually just stopping. And so you can take advantage of that to do a Shrine Spark immediately after, and we saw Mickey take advantage of that there.
Nice little time save there, and oh, gets hit by that Side Hopper, but does get a green X. Give him a little bit more missiles for the upcoming boss fight. Oh, and Mandatoby charges the Shine Spark too early. Shine charge.
Gets it the second time around though. So we'll also be seeing Mandatoby spark up this shaft. Alright, and Mickey starts the box fight here. Really good start, and I think he's almost done here. Ooh, but messes up that phase right there.
Would have been a perfect fight, but tanked a few missiles there, and he had 7 missiles left after the fight, which is an extremely good amount for the upcoming Side Hoppers and Barrier you have to kill in Sector 6.
Yeah, you ideally want to have 3 missiles leaving this. You ideally want to have 3 missiles at minimum, but a nice missile count is 6, because then you can use all those supers on these Side Hoppers and get them out of your way quickly. Now the first of the 3 Side Hoppers they have to kill can be killed with a charge beam pretty effectively, but the other 2 you kind of have to shoot them quickly. So Mandatoby has a really solid fight as well, and he'll be leaving with a good missile count.
Yeah, a little bit better fight than Mickey. Mandatoby did not tank his missiles.
Now it looks like both runners will be leaving and heading into Sector 6 with a good missile count.
And a good health count. As Sector 6 is pretty dangerous, but we'll get to that in a minute.
Right now, Mickey's going to be taking the Sector 6 elevator here. Now, Sector 6 is a really dangerous sector because there's an enemy called Ice X's that go around. Now, an Ice X, if it collides with you, does 69 damage, so you don't want to get hit too many times by those enemies. Good news for both our runners is that they both have good health going into the sector, so they'll be able to tank like a hit or two. And also, Ice X's can be stunned, so they'll be able to actually shoot them with their missiles or their beam to stop them from moving for a little bit.
And we're going to see Mickey place a bomb here. This will open up a little passage to a missile tank that he'll grab on his way out. Now, if they did not have at least 3 missiles come into the sector, they could grab that missile tank now and not really lose any time. It would just be a little bit less optimal than just keep moving on and destroying that barrier.
There's an E-tank in this room, so Mickey is now going to be in the clear here. Alright, and let's see how Mandatoby's trip goes. Again, placing that bomb there to get that missile tank later. Now Mickey is actually at the first, I guess you could say the first traditional sack skip that we do in the run. And now for this trick, Mickey is going to wait for the Sax's power bomb to go off, and he's going to come out here and shoot the Sax from behind, causing it to actually jump at him, and while he does that, he goes underneath it and jumps behind it. Now this is a lot faster than waiting for the SAX to just leave the room normally. So Mickey got hit by an Ice X there, but he's going to be grabbing this Red X anyway, so it's not really a big deal.
Another Zero Beam door for Mickey, by the way. Has a pretty good iDoor RNG so far. As you can see, Mickey is using the charge beam for this boss. Ideally, you want a 4-shot, which is what Mickey got, if you're able to land the flare along with both parts of the main beam. I believe that was 2 doubles there. Gets all 3 doubles and the sweet spot. It's a really solid fight by Mickey. That Mickey now has the Varia suit, which is unfortunately a pretty ugly looking suit that we're stuck with for quite a while. Now Mandatoby will start the Mega Core X fight as well. So he gets a 4-shot, but misses the first double, and unfortunately misses the second double.
Ooh, he gets a double there, it looks like, so that's nice. Or maybe...
He unfortunately missed that last double. So not an extremely good fight, but still a pretty decent fight by Mandatoby. And as we saw Mickey deal with, there's these enemies that float around that we call puffers, that if you shoot them, they'll puff out little smoke balls that will damage you. And they're extremely annoying to deal with, as, again, with RNG, if you enter a room, they have different patterns for the runner to try to adapt to each pattern.
See how Mandatoby's patterns goes here. Pretty good on that puffer. Not so nice for this last one, unfortunately. Has to jump over it there. Yeah, none of the puffer patterns you get are really favorable, so it's mostly just learning to deal with the ones you get. But generally, whichever pattern you get is going to be annoying in some way to deal with.
That Mickey is now entering Sector 5, the sector that we see quite a bit of loop around quite a number of times. Now the upgrade you get in Sector 5 are the ice missiles, which are sort of an upgrade, sort of a downgrade, as enemies that could be 1 hit by missiles before now take 2 hits, as they are now frozen. But before that, we have to find the security room.
Now, an important thing to note is that this is actually one of the last sectors that our runners really want to be careful with their missiles here, because the area they don't get a red X or a boss fight at the end of this sector, so they have to make sure their missiles are set, because the next area they go to is going to use a lot of missiles. So this is really the last main area in the early game that they have to worry about getting their missile count consistent. You definitely don't want to waste a ton of missiles here. I don't think we'll see either of our runners really run into problems in this sector, but it's something to be aware of.
And with that, Mickey now has the ice missiles as Mandatoby's on his way to the security room.
Every time you get an upgrade, this game loves to make you use it, so we're seeing Mickey getting to use his ice missiles a little bit here, but we're about to see him use them a lot more once he gets out of here. Now, an important thing to note is that in the background you saw something floating around in the shadows there, and that's actually important to see because it means you didn't forget to do anything. Because of how Sector 5 loops around a lot, it's really easy to get lost, so those visual cues are a good help to make sure that you actually did everything properly. Unfortunately, it appears that there are a lot of flashing red lights on our screen right now. Not sure what that's all about. I think the announcer is trying to say something.
An emergency somewhere. Yeah, there's an emergency somewhere. I'm not sure exactly where it is.
Say Sector 3? No, I'm not too sure about that.
Sector 3, Franker Z, it's approximately the same thing.
Yeah, sounds close enough to me. So for the emergency section here, this is where you're going to need a lot of missiles to go through. You will be using ice missiles like crazy to freeze a ton of enemies. And another important thing to note is that this sector does have a timer, so our runners will kind of have an immediate idea of how they're doing throughout this entire area.
Yes, we're given 6 minutes, but we really only need about 1 minute and 30. Speedrunners, you know. Generally, depending on how they do, they want around a 4-minute, 30-second time, which means they're doing really well. Most of the time, you'll see around a 4-minute, 20x time, which is still really good. Just a few mistakes have been made.
Now, I believe both runners have a favorable missile count going into it here, so we'll see how this goes. Of course, Mickey getting that missile drop definitely helped out a lot too.
Again with zero beams. Something important to note that I'm not quite sure if we touched upon before is that with every missile upgrade in this game, it gets harder and harder to double missiles. And as I say that, I think Mickey gets one. He gets both doubles. Really good wide beam fight by Mickey. But as I was saying, the cooldown between missiles increases and they travel faster, so it's a lot harder to position yourself to land both missiles on the same frame. But that was a fantastic fight by Mickey.
Now, they keep ice missiles for a long time, as compared to supers, where they only use supers on one core X. So knowing the ice missile timing for doubles is, I would say, a bit more important than knowing the regular super missile timing. So that's definitely going to be one of the timings that the runners are probably going to be more familiar with, is just because you spend so much more time with the ice missiles. They're actually going to be using ice missiles on quite a few more bosses after this point as well.
One being from Mandatoby, so not terrible. See if he's able to land some doubles as well. Believe that was one. But unfortunately misses that one. So yes, one double from Mandatoby. Still really solid.
So he's going to be finishing not too far after Mickey's time. Still a really, really good emergency time for Mandatoby there. Now, Mickey is going to be going on to the main deck here to try and rescue some survivors on the habitation deck. So it'll be interesting to see what those survivors are whenever they get over to them. Meanwhile, Mandatoby is making his trek through leaving Sector 3 here. That was a good climb going up out of that area. That climb is definitely one of the more difficult ones to do in the game, and you have to be very precise with some of your shots there. You see a lot of different runners do different strats for doing that climb. But speaking of climbs, we're actually about to see Mickey go do another stretchy climb here, where he's going to try and climb up these two stretchies to get to a room. And there are a few different ways you'll see runners do this. There's the impossible strat, as it's called, which is the fastest strat, really, but it's fairly difficult to do. And then the most common one, I would say, is that runners will actually do a jump extend to land on the middle platform. Now, it looks like Mickey is going for impossible strat here, and he gets it. Excellent play by Mickey there, so he makes it up there really quickly. Now he's going to be setting up a slightly different kind of shine break here. Now with this shine break, your speed boost actually will trigger as you're going over the block, so to speak, and it will actually cause the block to break, but you won't stop on the block. You'll keep going past it, and that allows you to actually store your spark on solid ground, instead of having to time a really tight shine break. Now, the timing for storing it is still pretty precise, but it's not nearly as difficult as just doing a manual shine break there.
Yes. And, once again, RNG is involved in how fast the animals leave their little room there. Unfortunately, as soon as Mickey opened up the hatch, all three Edacoons ran by, so it was a little bit slower. We'll have to see how Mandatoby does.
Alright, now Mandatoby has made his way up to the animals area. Going to be, again, doing the shine break here. And he gets it, nice. See how the animal RNG treats Mandatoby. Pretty okay RNG there, not too bad. And now Mickey goes and gets the elevator missile here.
And on that note, I sadly won't be able to stick around and hear my favorite power-up, the whoosh bombs, or of course power bombs, with the loudest sound effect that any power-up has. So I need to wish both our runners good luck in finishing their runs, and hopefully none of them die. Let's see how the result occurs later.
Alright, now both of our runners are in Sector 5. Well, we're about to be. We see Mickey tried to do a bit of a Shine Spark there, was unable to get it. Neat little Shine Spark you can do, but it's fairly difficult to land because you have to not only time it so you don't get hit by that enemy that got Mickey, you also have to get down to the bottom of the shaft quickly and do a spin jump. And so it's not an easy spark to land, but we'll actually be seeing a similar spark later on their last trip to Sector 5. But for this trip, all they need to do is go through, get the power bombs here, and get out. Now after getting power bombs, or fairly soon after, they're going to have a Sax encounter. And this Sax encounter can be very deadly if you don't have a whole lot of health. Now Mickey has pretty favorable health here, so you can actually tank quite a few hits from the Sax here. And if everything goes right, he won't get hit at all. So hopefully that'll happen. But either way, Mickey's definitely safe here for the most part. So he tried to morph there and slowed him down a little bit, but he had no problem dodging those two beam shots. There's also a red X right after the fact that you can grab. Now Mickey opted to skip it there. Didn't really need to grab it. He's going to get a refill soon anyway. So if it's in a bad position, then just might as well skip it. Now we see Mandatoby attempting the spark here. Will he get it? Alright, and Mandatoby does get the spark. Nice. Takes advantage to get up on that platform a little quicker than normal. And now Mickey is leaving the area. We sort of see a mini high five there from both runners. Yeah, this trip through Sector 5 is extremely quick. You do not stay in here very long. Now, I mentioned the power bomb upgrade. Power bombs are going to be used to mostly clear out obstacles, but there's also going to be a few rooms where you can actually use power bombs to destroy all the enemies that are in your way. So you're actually going to see our runners use power bombs to help get rid of some enemies in some annoying rooms. Now Mickey is on his way to the ship after having a long trek through Sector 5. We'll see how Mandatoby gets through this SAS encounter here. Now another thing important to know with power bombs is that while a power bomb is going off, you can't actually grab a ledge. And that's why you actually saw Mandatoby there. He went through and he did a spring ball into that tunnel, and you saw Mickey do it as well. And that's just simply because you can't be grabbing a ledge while a power bomb's going off. Now this strat that we saw Mandatoby do here is the Kadoom strat. It's a quick way of getting up this shaft. We saw Mandatoby do that really to get up that shaft really quickly and in pretty cool fashion there. So it's a nice little spot for you to use your power bombs. And now Mickey is going to be just outside the ship. And Mandatoby is leaving Sector 5 here. Now, it'll be interesting to see if we actually see Mandatoby take the save whenever he gets to the ship. You notice Mickey manually opted not to take that save, and of course it's faster to skip it. But also, the interesting thing to note about that save, because of how convenient it is, it's a pretty good place to save if you're in a race. Now, neither of these runners really want to waste too much time because they're fairly close to each other and they don't want to lose any lead they have. So I believe Mickey just may have opted not to save for that reason, or maybe just out of habit. It will be interesting to see if Mandatoby does the same decision. Now, if Mickey doesn't die, then everything will be fine. But if Mickey dies and Mandatoby opts to take that save, then Mandatoby will actually be able to die and still be ahead of Mickey. But we may see neither runner grab it, so we'll just have to watch and see here. Now, the boss fight Mickey's in now is called Yakuza, and at the start of the fight, you want to unload as many missiles into him as possible. And after that, he'll start to go around the room like so. And he can do this 1 to 4 times, and it's complete RNG which number he picks, but if you do it right, then he'll just be killed immediately after his first set of rounds. If not, you have to wait another set of rounds. Now, luckily, Mickey did enough damage between the 2 attempts that he was able to get to this last phase here. And for this last phase, your charge beam actually does more damage here, but missiles are faster because you don't have to wait for the charge up time. And that's really the embodiment of missiles versus using charge beam in this game, is the time spent charging up charge beam worth the damage? And for a lot of these boss fights we're going through right now, it is not. In fact, charge beam won't be the primary damage method until the Ridley fight, which is much later on. Now, Mandatoby is going to be entering the Yakuza fight, while Mickey is leaving the next text box. We'll see how Mandatoby's fight goes here, but Mickey's going to be heading on to the next boss fight. Now, this whole little area right here, you pretty much have a very quick chain of boss fights. You need to defeat Yakuza, then you need to defeat Neterai, and then you need to fight Nightmare. At this point in the game's kind of light on the text, and so you don't really have a huge amount of break like you did before. You're pretty much moving from one boss fight to the next really quickly. Mandatoby gets really bad luck there. It's really unfortunate, but he looks like he did enough damage to go through here and get to the 3rd phase, no problem. See how his 3rd phase fight goes here, or I should say 2nd phase. Alright, gets through that phase just fine. Now he's going to try and land some doubles here. Looks like he got that 2nd double. Misses the 3rd there. Alright, but it looks like he may have got the last one. Now, just as he's finishing up, we have Mickey entering the Neterai boss fight. Now, this boss fight is exactly why we grab as many missiles as we do. Because the more missiles you have in this fight, the more time you save. Now it's a 48 missiles, I believe, to kill him outright. So since we don't have 48 missiles, our runner's going to have to lay a certain number of power bombs and a certain number of charge beams to actually finish off this fight optimally. Now we see Mickey did the perfect number of charge beam and power bombs, it looks like, so he's able to get to the last phase no problem. Unable to get that double. We'll see here. I'm not sure if that one hit. It looks like you did get 1 double there. But this boss takes a minimum number of 5 hits to defeat in the last phase, so it's a bit different from some of the other boss fights where they have an even number, which is kind of nice because it means you can sort of miss a double and still not really lose any time. So Mickey's done with that boss fight, and he'll now be leaving Sector 2 and heading on to fight Nightmare. While Mandatoby is sort of going right where Mickey just was, as he heads on to fight Neterai. Now, luckily for Mandatoby, he does have a few more missiles than Mickey did, so he'll actually be able to do a slightly faster version of this boss fight, and not have to lay nearly the same amount of charge beams or power bombs that we saw Mickey use. Now, ideally, you don't want to take any damage in this boss fight, because if you take damage in this boss fight, it means that there's a chance you won't get missile drops, from the boss fight after you defeat it. See, Mandatoby using a bit... he used a bit too many charge beams there, I believe. We'll see how this fight goes, but... he may be opting to save some of his missiles instead because of the fact he took damage. If you don't take damage, you can guarantee the boss is going to actually drop missiles, but if you take damage, you might get like this, where he only got health drops. Does get that first double there. Does get the second double, nice. Going to finish off this boss fight in the minimum number of hits there. I don't know, ooh, but Mandatoby, uh-oh. Cannot get a missile drop. So he gets both doubles, but unfortunately, so the Plasma Core X would not cooperate, and that's unfortunately a prime example of the RNG this game can deal you. So if you're not careful, you can just lose a ton of time there. Now Mickey does the Nightmare Shine Spark, which is actually the different version of the earlier Shine Spark I mentioned. Only this time, you can see it saves a lot more time than it did before. But Mickey makes it through okay, and he's going to be getting pretty close to the Nightmare fight. Does have to go through some water here, which is really unfortunate because water in this game slows you down a good chunk. Water physics in this game are not nice when you don't have the gravity suit. And there are quite a few enemies that are not very cooperative here. Alright, Mickey gets the red X, and now he's going to be entering the Nightmare fight. We'll see how this fight goes. Now, Nightmare has 3 phases to its regular fight, although the first phase is incredibly short. So it feels more like he really only has 2 phases, but he does technically have 3. Yeah, now the first phase is already over. Yeah, so as you can see, the first phase of this fight goes through really quick. And the second phase is not much faster. Now we're finally on the third phase. The third phase is actually going to be the slowest phase here. And what you want to do is you want to first start the phase, he's always going to do the same. He's going to go to that right side of the screen, his face mask will open up, and then he'll unload missiles on you. And then in that phase, you'll unload as many missiles as possible. Then the second phase, you lure him around, get him to stand in a good spot, and then you unload on him again. Now, Mickey didn't have the best positioning for that for Nightmare to end up in, so didn't get the best fight he could have gotten there, but still gets the triple double at the end, and even then he didn't waste too much time setting up Nightmare, so still a very solid fight for Mickey. Ooh, Mandatoby runs out of his Shine Spark right before he can actually do that, so he's going to have to do a backup here. Alright, gets the backup, so didn't save as much time as he could have, but still makes it through okay. Still better than having to walk all through those rooms. Now we see Mandatoby kind of opted to morph ball underneath that fish pirate. There's a lot of different ways you have to deal with those guys, and so you just kind of have to be creative there. Now, the area Mickey's in now is called Lower Sector 4, and Lower Sector 4 is definitely the most hazardous sector, I would say. Now, there's no boss fights down here, but there are quite a few enemies that are annoying and do a good chunk of damage, and they love to give you bad patterns. Now, luckily, Mickey here has a bit of good health because he had 4 E-tanks. So he has plenty of health to really get through here safely. But he does want to be careful because it's still very easy to die, especially depending on what kind of patterns you get. Alright, looks like Mandatoby has had a solid start to his Nightmare fight. Let's see how he gets through the third phase here. A bit slow in his missile spam compared to Mickey there, so But if he sets it up right, this really won't be a problem, because he'll still have plenty of time to unload all the missiles he needs. Yeah, you can see there, it doesn't really make a huge difference as long as you deal a decent amount of damage in the first part of the third phase. Gets the initial double. Will he get the second one here? Gets the second one. Will we see another triple double? Oh, he just barely misses it there, but does still finish off the fight with 2 doubles, which is really nice. See Mickey opting to Shine Spark through that barrier here, so he's going to actually get a Shine Spark up this shaft really quickly. Now Mickey does want to be concerned about his health here because the next boss fight doesn't do a huge amount of damage as long as you're careful, but it still does a good chunk of damage. Now luckily, before he actually goes into this boss fight, he is going to get the chance to grab some Ice X's, which heal up 30 damage instead of the regular 10 that you get from the yellow X's. So he's going to be able to get a lot of health on his way in, but he is going back through Sector 6, which has all those wonderful puffer enemies on the way in. So we'll have to see how Mickey goes through here. But before he does that, he has to go to the nav room and gets yelled at for opening up the red security doors a little bit. Meanwhile, we see Mandatoby moving on. Now, the upgrade Mickey just got was actually the diffusion missile upgrade, and you already saw him use it a little bit, but diffusion missiles allow you to use a missile shot that actually does an area of effect. Creates a little circular area effect around it that deletes any missile blocks and freezes any enemies within its range. And Mickey's going to use that ability to deal with some annoying enemies in a few rooms, and also to actually go through and clear some missile blocks that he would normally have to spam missiles to break. Looks like Mandatoby will be making it through lower Sector 4 with a bit better health than Mickey had. Definitely won't have to worry as much about taking damage. Mickey takes advantage of those invincibility frames there to actually kind of sneak his way through an enemy. That's one nice benefit to gaining damage there by the puffer. And of course, he still has his full health. Loses a bit there, but this next room has a ton of Ice X's here, so if he can grab any of those. Yeah, so not the best health in the world, but still very solid health for this boss fight. Right, gets yelled at and told that you're not allowed to go past this point, so Mickey decides to head on back and see what he can do this way. Alright, now this boss fight is called Xbox, and it's basically the same box fight as before, except completely different. Boss opens up by shooting missiles at you instead of it doing what it did before. Positioning on this boss is also a little bit more annoying than the first fight, so you want to be really careful here, but it looks like Mickey finished off the fight, no problem. Now he just has to deal with the Core X here. Now you're going to notice he doesn't go for doubles in this Core X, and that's because, well, A, the setup for getting doubles is going to slow you down a little bit, and B, well, it's a lot harder to get doubles in this Core X than the regular ones. So it's generally just not worth it to go for them, so Mickey opted not to do it.
Warning, no entry without authorization. 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 Warning, no entry without authorization.
Now Mandatoby is in Sector 6, and he'll be on his way to the box fight as well. Good news about coming through here the second time around is that your plasma beam is a lot better than the beam you had before. So you get to kind of deal with these puffers and get them out of your way faster. Get a little bit of revenge for the first trip through Sector 6.
60 seconds to isolation lockdown.
Mickey got a little bit of bad luck with that Metroid getting in his way there, so that's something you gotta watch out for. Still gets out of there in 54 seconds, so 55 is ideal, but getting 54 is still really good. And again, that's only a second time loss, that's not something huge. Mandatoby misses the missile there, gets in his way a little bit. Finished off the fight, now he's just got to deal with the Core X here. We'll see how this goes. Now again, he's not going to be going for doubles here, so he'll mostly just be trying to... Main thing is to set the sweet spot. Mandatoby's going to want to be really careful here. He may just opt to... Yeah, he may not opt to go for a sweet spot. No! Oh. Really unfortunate. Mandatoby gets destroyed by the Core X there. That Core X is a very damaging one, so it's really unfortunate that that had to happen, but for now, we'll see if Mandatoby opts to restart here. I do not remember if he took the ship save or not. We'll see in a second. Paused his timer. Mandatoby may be opting to concede for the moment, I'm not sure. But it's looking like that's what he's going to do since he hasn't started up the new game yet. Really unfortunate for that to happen to Mandatoby. To see how Mickey's Ridley fight goes here. Finishes off Ridley. Now he's going to be trying to finish off this Core X here. Gets the initial double. Does not get a second double. See how this goes. Alright, looks like Mickey is only able to get one double on that fight. Now he's got the screw attack upgrade. Now, screw attack's extremely powerful in this game. We're actually going to see Mickey get to use it a lot here. And it's very powerful because there's pretty much no way to get knocked out of it, short of a few of the last few bosses here. Because we only have 2 bosses left, and the first of these is going to be the Sax. Now, the Sax is actually going to be able to damage Mickey while he's in screw attack, by screw attacking into Mickey as well. So, can't really abuse the screw attack against the first phase of the SAX too much. But against the last phase, which is the Core X phase, we're going to see Mickey can actually abuse it because the Core X literally cannot damage you any way while you're using screw attack. Even if you run into it, it does no damage whatsoever to you. So Mickey can abuse that if he needs to, if he's like low on health or something. Of course, Mandatoby is showing off how I guess, showing off different ways you can do the SAX fight here. We'll be seeing Mickey do a stun lock similar to that, although I would say a lot less risky whenever he gets to the fight in a second. But before he does, get to have some fun listening to Adam talk for quite a few minutes here. Meanwhile, we have Mandatoby showing off the end of the game here a little bit. So you guys will get sort of a preview of what we're going to see Mickey go through. Meanwhile, Mickey is in the longest text box in the game. This text box is definitely the longest by far and takes a good minute or two to get through. So we'll be sitting here for a little bit, unfortunately. But after that, Mickey will be on a speed run to the end of the game. See if Mandatoby can get the low height shine spark here at the end. Opts to not go for it and just instead to just screw attack through everything there. Oh, now that's a neat little... So Mandatoby showing off the pogo strat, which is not really a strat, it's a neat little trick that you can do to the Omega Metroid, that if you get behind it and space jump around, Omega repeatedly tries to jump as well. See how long Mandatoby can keep this up before getting smacked here. Aw, gets knocked out of it. Alright, Mickey is now done with the text box and he'll be heading to the end of the game. Has to go through a few elevator rides really quickly, but then after that he'll be speeding his way to the SAX fight. I guess I've always wondered what happens if you don't pick up the Ice X there, so I guess the Omega just kind of sits there until you grab it. Or I guess until the timer runs out and the place explodes. Alright, and we're going to see how Mickey's sax fight goes here. Gets the perfect start of the fight. Alright, now you should just get through the second and third phases. Now luckily these next two phases are pretty much a joke compared to the first. Second phase can get 2 to 4 hits usually, 2 if you get everything perfect. So Mickey had a bit of trouble there, but still finished off that second phase really easily. And he's going to try and get some doubles on the Ice Core X here. Really hard to tell if you get any doubles in this Core X, unfortunately. It looks like he got at least, I believe he got 2 there. He was able to finish off the fight in 4 hits. That's nice. Four rounds, I should say, 6 hits. And now Mickey's going to be escaping, and if he can get through the Omega Metroid, he will complete the race and be the winner. Right, Mickey's going to go for low height in a second. We'll see if he can get it. a little bit too high there. Is not able to get the low height. Just a little bit too high. So loses a bit of time over getting the low height there, but not really much. Now he's going to be heading into the Omega, which is going to swipe him away. Alright, now Mickey's gonna want to get a quick kill here where he stun locks the enemy, and he does get it. Nice. Alright, as long as you mash fast enough, the fight is now over. Congratulations to Mickey, he will be taking first place in this race. Mickey finishes with a time of 1:17:48, according to his splits, and believe, yeah, SRL says a 1:17:49, so good job, Mickey. Congratulations. Right, we now have Mandatoby with us.
Hello, can you hear me?
Really sad to see how your run ended, but how do you feel outside the recent performance there? How do you feel about your performance in the tournament so far?
Hello?
Hey.
I'm not sure if you heard my question earlier, but I was asking, how do you feel about your performance in the tournament so far, Mandatoby?
Sorry there, I had to reset my mic. Well, considering this is only my second race, I am... Well, the first race was good, and the second one wasn't, so I think it evens out. I definitely can improve, so I'm really looking forward to the next race, but yeah, this race was not very good. Could have been a lot better, obviously.
Alright, well, your next opponent, actually, your next opponent is going to be, well, a few matches behind here, but whoever wins between Phazon Knight and Herc will be facing off against Destructor, and whoever wins that match is who you'll be facing, so how do you plan to prepare for that?
Well, considering that it'll probably take a while until they figured out who will be racing me, I probably have some time to prepare. So I think this time I'll actually do some more runs and try to shake off those last rust flakes to make sure I'll be prepared for the next one. Yeah. So I'll do a couple 100% races, runs, since I enjoy the category a lot more, and I think it's also better for de-rusting since it has more tricks and stuff. And then I'll hopefully be able to beat whoever is next.
All right, well, congratulations, Mickey, for your race win there. Your next opponent will actually be the winner of Paulsmore versus Rezarin. So how do you plan on preparing for that match?
Getting some more practice, I guess. I know Baltimore is pretty good, and he's beaten me a couple of times in the past tournaments.
Did he actually beat you?
Yeah, from what I recall.
So Mickey, I just saw in the SRL chat that you actually got a PB. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's an English PB.
So how did your run go? Now I'm really curious.
Early game was really, really sloppy. Sector 2 and Sector 4 were a mess. Managed to catch up later, and everything after that was pretty good.
What was your best split?
I think that was my meltdown split.
Yeah, I actually gold at that split as well.
But yeah, that was a pretty fun race.
Yeah, I was really nervous in the beginning, and then like the beginning wasn't that bad. It was all good until like right before the sector 1 idol, like right before the charge beam boss, where you have to reveal those blocks in the wall and then grab the ledge and then roll through and then go to the door to the next room with the idol, where I missed the blocks and then I had to like slow down and shoot at them. That was the point when things started getting a bit shaky. And then I got some really bad RNG in Sector 2 and everything. And
I'm sorry, man.
that's so great, yeah. Okay, so yeah, thanks also to Next Gen for commentating this. I'll drop out for now. It's getting quite late over here. GG to Mickey, congratulations once again to the win. And
Thank you.
Yeah, see you next race.
All right, Mandatoby, thank you for interviewing with us. Wish you good luck in your future races in the tournament.
Thanks.
All right, so for now, we'll be heading out of here soon. But before we go, I want to go over a few things. We have one more race today, which will be Paulsmore versus Rezarin at 7:30 Eastern Time. So that'll be in about 3 hours from now. And that will be on Speed Gaming 4. And now for the rest of the day on Speed Gaming, give me a second here. All right, so from now on, we'll have, looks like a Link to the Past, and NMG is going to be on Speed Gaming. And I believe it looks like we're about halfway through an Ori race in Speed Gaming 3. And then there's going to be another Ori race in Speed Gaming 3 starting at 5 p.m. So it should be in about half hour or so. Then more Link to the Past on Speed Gaming, a Dark Souls race, another Ori's race, and then the second Fusion race for today. We saw more after that, so there's a lot of stuff on Speed Gaming today. So be sure to check out all the Speed Gaming channels today and see what they got going on. But I think that about does it for us. Congratulations again to Mickey for winning the race. I wish you good luck on the next round in the tournament.
Thank you. Thanks for the commentary. Always nice.
No problem. But thanks to everyone for watching. For now, we're going to head on out, and we'll see you guys at the next race.